Wowza. A 5-point night for Mason Marchment and a 6-goal first period from the Dallas Stars as they cruise to a bounce-back win in Pittsburgh.
You're Locked On Stars, your daily podcast on the Dallas Stars. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Howdy, Stars fans. I'm Joey Erickson, former producer of 105 Through the Fan. Please be sure to subscribe. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. And as always, thank you so much for making us a part of your day and making us your first listen. Well, it seems like I need to go on emotional rants more often because it leads to huge Dallas Stars victories. A 6-goal first period. Mason Marchment with a 5-point night as the Stars cruise to a 7-1 win over the Pens in Pittsburgh. We're going to break it all down on a Tuesday edition of Locked On Stars, as well as discuss Matt Dumba being healthy scratched for the first time this season. Head coach Pete DeBoer is not messing around. And can the Stars do it again? Can they do it against the upper echelon in the NHL? That is the big question right now. So drop a like, drop a comment, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell. Never miss an episode of Locked On Stars, which is brought to you by FanDuel. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Well, we'll begin with this. Mason Marchment has been marvelous, and he had his fingerprints all over this one, as you would imagine, with 5 points, 4 assists, and his third goal of the campaign. He's up to 13 points this season, and he is earning every penny of the contract he signed a few years ago. But what a night for him and his line of Matt Duchene and Tyler Seguin, who just continue to produce at an elite level. And Pittsburgh was not ready for this game tonight. And Dallas came out and took it, which is a great sign. We talked about it on yesterday's episode. Can we get more nights like this where every line is involved, every line is creating scoring chances? And tonight it was led by Mason Marchment. He scored a pretty goal. I don't know if that was an intended stretch pass by Brendan Smith that bounced off the end wall and came out to the slot, and Marchment just goes shelf to beat Bloomquist at the time, who got taken out after the fourth goal a little while later. But the Stars took it to Pittsburgh from the hop. It was their best first period and best period of the entire season, really, and they just sort of played with their food the rest of the way. But a much needed big time offensive explosion for the Stars. They really needed a night like this. Wyatt Johnston gets a goal. Have been 10 games without a tally for him. That was a much needed goal from him late in the third period. And Dallas just needed to get some of this frustration out of their system. And Pittsburgh was in the way. They stepped on the train tracks and Dallas went right through them. A 6-goal first period for the Stars, and that was the second time in Dallas history. Marchment became the 13th player in Dallas history with a 5+ point game. That's via Josh Clark. The last time a Star had 5 points in a game, it was Tyler Seguin, and that was a few years ago. The last time the Stars had scored 6 goals in a period, it was in 2009 against the New York Rangers. The Stars won 10-2 in that game. Let me take you down a trip down memory lane here and tell you the 6 goal scorers or the multiple goal scorers in that game against New York in 2009. Play along with me here. This was in the third period, by the way. They went into the third with a 4-2 lead, and then the onslaught began. Jere Lehtinen, Fabian Brunstrom, who had 11 goals up to that point, Steve Ott, Daryl Sador, and 2 goals from James Neal on the power play, and that 6-goal first period. So how about that? Tonight, it was Duchene, Stankoven, Marchment, Heiskanen twice, and then Tyler Seguin on the power play. A beautiful setup by Mason Marchment, of course, and Duchene got an assist on that goal as well. But just an overall beatdown for the Dallas Stars. And I had to call out half the team yesterday, and I think they took it personal. Miro Heiskanen, his first 2 goals of the season. The first one was a beauty set up by, yes, you know who I'm going to say, Mason Marchment, a beautiful little one-timer, and not an easy one, too. He's on a strong side and had to open up his body and got enough of it to beat Bloomquist for the 4th time that night, and then he was yanked. And then just over a minute later, it was Miro once again. He picked off a pass and just went full steam ahead on a breakaway, and he scored the first goal on Nedeljkovic for the night, and it was a beauty. He had a sensational evening. He graded out 4.99. It's the highest game score in the NHL so far tonight. It was just a big night from him. And Marchment kind of overshadowed the night Miro had, but he was brilliant, which is a good sign. Esa Lindell had a fantastic night. I mean, Duchene was all over the place. He had 3 points in the game. His goal got the scoring started in the first period, just a wrist shot that kind of trickled through. And that was just sort of the night for Pittsburgh. And look, the Penguins aren't a great team. They have a ton of issues. And I said it yesterday with the Stars. Duchene and Seguin are your leading goal scorers. I don't know if that's a great sign. And right now in Pittsburgh, it's Evgeny Malkin and Sidney Crosby leading the way. And they didn't have great nights. Crosby went to the box a few times. The first power play goal was on the Crosby penalty on Sam Steele, and Dallas made them pay. They get a couple power play goals. That's a good sign as well. But then again, it's like, okay, we've seen them sort of beat up on some of these lower tier teams. And Pittsburgh is a team I didn't think was going to make the playoffs coming into the year. And now they're really questioning what went on. Probably a come to Jesus moment after this one tonight. But it was big for Dallas. I mean, 12 shots in the first period, they scored 6 goals. Their shooting percentage was 50%, and they were dominant at 5-on-5 for the most part. And it's hard to analyze the last 2 periods when you're just at that point kind of running the clock out. And Pittsburgh had a push in the second period. They get the 1 goal. Blake Lizotte was excellent for them. I want Blake Lizotte on the Dallas Stars so damn bad. I want him on the Stars so bad. He had 4 or 5 scoring chances himself, and a large part of it is due to the fact that I watched him in college. He went to my alma mater. I just love his game, and I think you can always find a place for players like him. And I was keen on the Stars trying to get him in the offseason, but he goes to Pittsburgh, and he probably had the best night on the Penguins side of things. But 40 shots on goal for the Stars. Penguins only had 21. And I thought Dallas was really, really strong defensively tonight. I thought they played a lot more instinctively and just reacting rather than thinking their way around the game. It just felt like guys were flying. And that was the biggest difference tonight. And yes, it's the Penguins, but hear me out. We haven't seen this a lot from Dallas in the first half dozen games or so, or at least the last few weeks. Like, the guys were flying around. That first period, Dodonov and Rope were just flying around, taking time and space away from the Penguins, creating those turnovers and initiating the good luck. They were initiating this first period by dictating the tone and the play. And yes, Pittsburgh was awful, but Dallas deserves some credit for some of that because they went out and worked and got rewarded for it. And it starts with Stankoven, right? And his line just really established the tone. I mean, Johnston, good night. He could have had four goals tonight. He couldn't buy a goal in the first two periods. He hit the post early, and he scored a beauty of a one-timer set up by Duchene in that third period on the power play, just to add insult to injury. But Stankoven, with his third goal of the season, was just a beauty. Surprise Blomqvist. He just was at that right circle and beat him to the blocker side, because you don't expect that shot to come. He increases his lead in the Calder Trophy point race, or at least really the Calder Trophy candidacy in general. He increases those odds because of how well he is playing. And it was just an overall really, really big night for the Stars. And I think they were able to release some of their frustrations. They get some key guys on the board that needed to find the score sheet, like Miro and Johnston. But again, it was sort of your Mason Marchment and Duchene and Seguin show. That is the line that is consistently doing the damage. And 8 different players combined for a point in that first period. I have to count it up how many points that line even had. So Duchene with 3, Marchment had 5, so 8 there. And then I think Seguin just had the 1 goal. He didn't have an assist. So, 9 points for that line in general. The defense got involved. Brendan Smith, who checked in, he'd been healthy scratch for, I think, 6 out of the last 7. He had his first 2 points of the year. 6 total points from the defenseman, which hasn't been a normal thing. It hasn't been a regular steady basis of the offense from the defense side of things. So, all good things in a 7-1 win, as you would expect, as Marchment leads the way. Can they do it against the best? Now we have to start asking that question because of what has happened recently. But a heck of a win. They were flying around. It was a lot more of just effort and determination than it was just using their skill. And it was highly skilled. Pittsburgh was just kind of defending willy-nilly tonight, so Dallas could flex a bit. They could flex their muscles. But again, I've said it before, and I said it early when they beat Nashville by a comfortable margin. I know that game ended up being close, but if you're going to have a night off against Dallas, they're going to make you pay. They are going to make you pay. They're way too good. But that doesn't happen very often. These games are anomalies. Out of 82 games, you maybe get 3 of these. Maybe you get 3 of them in an 82 game stretch. Maybe. And it was a big one tonight. It was a big one tonight. And of course, I think many of us still have concerns, but it's a big win. Let's dive into Matt Dumba for a second, because he was healthy scratched for the first time this season. And head coach Pete DeBoer is playing the best he has. He's playing the best he has. And this is a good sign. I'll tell you why in just a moment. Today's episode of Locked On Stars is brought to you by Select Quote. The World Series, the Super Bowl, the Olympics. The world's top athletes get to play in these top-level sporting events thanks to one thing: teamwork. And teamwork can also protect your financial legacy and your family's future. Select Quote's licensed insurance agents are the perfect teammates while shopping for customized, affordable life insurance. They can find you the right policy to keep your financial legacy safely in your family's end zone. In sports, winning is everything. That's why you always need a good strategy to keep you moving towards the goalpost. Winning strategies for life are just as important, and that's why on my team, I have life insurance through Select Quote to protect your legacy and your family's financial future. Other life insurance brokers offer impersonal, one-size-fits-all policies that may cost you more and cover you less, while Select Quote licensed insurance agents work for you to tailor a life insurance policy for your individual needs in as little as 15 minutes. Head to selectquote.com and a licensed insurance agent will call you right away with the right policy for your life and your budget. Get life insurance, get the right life insurance for you for less at selectquote.com/LockedOnNHL. Go to selectquote.com selectquote.com/LockedOnNHL today to get started. That's selectquote.com/LockedOnNHL. Today's episode is also brought to you by FanDuel. Get ready to tackle the NFL season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. So get in on the action with FanDuel. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, the live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. So head coach Pete DeBoer healthy scratched Matt Dumba tonight for the first time this season. And look, it doesn't come as a huge surprise. It did send many shockwaves through the Stars fan base, but from the feedback that I received, a lot of people felt like, yeah, it kind of makes sense. And I will say this, DeBoer does have the option to go to a veteran. If this was Niels Lundqvist, it probably doesn't happen. If Niels Lundqvist is your seventh defenseman, is what I'm saying. But Niels Lundqvist is one of your best 6, if not 4 defensemen right now on the Dallas Stars. He has earned himself a position on the back end. He has earned his spot, and he should not come out anytime soon. Thought he had a fantastic night. He's just been consistent all season long, and he has earned his spot. I'll say this. This was Niels Lundqvist and the Brendan Smith situation. I don't know if Matt Dumba gets scratched. I don't know if it happens. But it does send a message that Pete DeBoer is not going to mess around. He's not worried about if you're a veteran, if you're young, if you can help us win games, which he always preaches. He's always been preaching that. I don't know if he always took that to heart with Niels over the last few seasons, but if you can help us win games, you are going to be in the lineup. And I thought Smith came in. I thought he did a fine job. He had a couple of assists. I mean, that's more than you could ask out of Brendan Smith. He was physical. I know he took a penalty late in the contest, but Matt Dumba hasn't been perfect since he's come over, and you already know my thoughts on Dumba for the most part. Was not a huge fan of him, was not huge on the signing, but I understood the Stars need some depth. But Matt Dumba's sort of who he is as a player. He's going to be prone to mistakes. He's going to have his weaknesses, and him paired with Miro Heiskanen looked like it was going to be something that could work. But in turn, with this healthy scratch, we found something else. And frankly, we should have known this. And frankly, I'm irritated I didn't start hammering this on the head earlier. Miro with Esa Lindell makes way too much sense. Lindell has had a heck of a season so far. Heck of a year. He played with John Klingberg, who's this offensive magician. Miro can be just that, but better defensively. They pair up perfectly. And number one, it frees up Miro Heiskanen. Maybe I didn't think about that before with Miro and Dumba, how, again, Miro playing with somebody that's not as good as a skater, has his issues, prone to take penalties, is probably favoring the defensive end a bit more. And yes, I've called him out because I think 4 points in 13 games isn't good enough. I still think that's true. Try not to make too big of an excuse for him, but playing with Dumba maybe doesn't free him up as much as we really thought it would. Lindell is different because he is defensively stout and a top 10 defensive defenseman in the National Hockey League. And I thought Miro was was aggressive, and took the bull by the horns tonight. And we see that at points, but it had a different feel. And yeah, he's playing on his offside, but look, we get it. He's going to be fine no matter where you plug him in the lineup. He's going to find a way to get it done. And maybe you need to be going to Lindell, Miro is your top pair, Harley, Lyubushkin. Don't think you have to touch that. And then based off merit, based off play, it's either Dumba or Smith. It's a meritocracy at this point. Who's playing better? I think you can put Smith and Lundqvist together. Dumba and Lundqvist, I think they're going to figure it out. I think they would be just fine. And I know that gives, two righties if you put Dumba and Lundqvist together. But again, I don't think Dumba is suited for this top four role in Dallas. You're going to have to make a trade at some point if you really want to be a true contender. I mean, let's be frank about this. But Lundqvist has earned his spot. You could play him with Harley, if you ask me, and move Lyubushkin down, and then play Lyubushkin with either Smith or Dumba. I really think you could. And Lyubushkin's played on his offside, at points during his career. So there are options there. Let's take a look at the time on ice tonight at 5-on-5 for defensemen. Lindell over 19.5, Harley 17.52. Smith played 16.46, and a lot of this is dictated by the game. So you can't take a lot of stock in this. Miro just played over 22 minutes tonight. Any other game, he's probably playing 25. I mean, you could say this for each defenseman. Lindell just over 21, Harley just over 20. You were able to give Lundqvist a few more minutes. And Brendan Smith, of course, was fresh, so you're able to use him. So, I mean, it was good stuff. It was good stuff. And this healthy scratch, it says a few things, of course. I think it's sending a message to, like, okay, this isn't good enough. We have to be better. And, I think in a weird way, it's, maybe not a result or a solution you thought was going to come out of it is him and Lindell. We've seen it before, but not consistently like we got to see tonight since they were paired up together. And it makes complete sense and will probably be a pairing you can kind of roll out there every night here for a few weeks. And of course, you can always go to Lyubushkin, Lindell if you want to shut down the opponent. But you can do that with Miro and Lindell. Like, I mean, those are two very, very talented guys in their own zones. So I think it makes you deeper, actually. It makes you a bit deeper because I think your top four is much better when you have Lindell with Miro. Because Harley and Lyubushkin has been fairly nice, been fairly great. And you can always play Lindell and Lyubushkin on the PK. You can always go to that and give them minutes that way. So, a big night for the Stars, a 7-1 victory. Duchene 3 points, Marchment 5, Miro with a couple of goals. Just all around great stuff. Just a quick shot, just a quick highlight of Ottinger. Thought he was good. He had to make a few big saves in the first period, kind of early. And then Dallas opened it up, and it was breezy from there. But, a fine game with him. And I know many of you have shared concerns about Otter against elite teams too. And that is a very fair criticism because, he's played in a lot of these games against the upper echelon of the National Hockey League, and he hasn't had best nights. I'll give him some grace on the game against Florida. I mean, deflections are tough. You give up 4 goals that are deflected. Like, those sometimes you can't do much about. But there is something to be said against Winnipeg and him getting pulled in that game. So can they do it again? Can they do it against the best? They haven't proven that, but that's the challenge the rest of the way. And frankly, using that a lot today, that's how we're going to grade them moving forward. So let's dive into that a bit more in just a moment. Today's episode of Locked On Stars is brought to you by Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the best place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in award winnings, Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win 100 times your cash. Run your game all season long on Prize Picks. They have great opportunities for you in hockey, football. This week on Prize Picks, you got Nathan MacKinnon for more than half a goal, Evander Kane more than 1.5 hits, Pasternak, who the Stars see a bit later on this week, 2.5 shots on goal. You can use these type of picks and make some money on Prize Picks. Download it on your smartphone. It takes 30 seconds. Use the code LOCKEDONNHL and get $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. So download the app today. Use code LOCKEDONNHL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. Run your game. Dallas has Boston later on this week, and then Minnesota on Saturday. They take on the Bruins at home, and then what is a big Central Division game against Minnesota. And yes, it's early, but many of you have made this point to me in the comments. I appreciate you. Please continue to drop those. Let me know your thoughts, your feelings, observations on the Stars. It is great that they beat up on the Penguins tonight, but they need guys like Robo and Rope and Wyatt and Jamie Benn to get going against the Minnesota Wilds of the world, the Winnipeg Jets. You have to beat teams like this. Not all the time, not talking about some 98 win percent, but you need to win these sort of games against teams above you in the standings, especially. These are important points. And seeding will matter. At some point, you want the easiest road possible. And I know Dallas hasn't had the easiest of roads over the last few postseasons, even when they've, won the Central like they did again last year. But putting yourself in that position gives you a lot better shot than it does being a first, second wild card, even a third seed in the Central. Like, that means you have to travel. And I know they haven't been great at home, and they've always just given home ice away right away. But it can matter. It really can. I'm looking forward to the Boston game, of course, but really it's the Saturday game against Minnesota I have my eye on right now. That's the game I'm looking ahead to because Minnesota's off to a phenomenal start. They're not a team to mess around with. They have a good goalie right now. They're getting production from a lot of different lines. They're healthy. Kaprizov is a Hart Trophy candidate. Can you play against a team that's rolling and, not just kind of sleepwalk your way into another game? Can they rise to the occasion, as Pete DeBoer has noted recently? That's the big question in the game I'm really looking forward to, because it's a big test, and it was a great win for the Stars tonight, but they have bigger aspirations, and many of us have concerns. And I hear you. Trust me, I share them. I know I've tried to be very positive, as I usually am. It's hard to be negative and pessimistic constantly. I'm just kind of taking it game by game. I think the Stars are in a good spot. Do I think they're a real contender? No. I'm like 85% no on that. And I probably got brought down from like a 95 from the offseason. So we're inching closer to that 50%. A trade, I think, is going to happen. It's needed because I think they need a little extra. I don't think they have the extra gear that some of these other teams do. Maybe they do. We just haven't seen it yet. And I know Razor sort of alluded to that. I think, there's a feeling in the dressing room after Thanksgiving, they're going to kind of get their act together. That is a possibility. It's a real possibility. It is still early. I get that. It's still early. But then again, if we're asking the same questions in December. It's not really early anymore. It's not early. At some point, you got to start playing more consistently and having more nights like this. And the goals are great. But aside from the goals, it was just the play in general that we haven't seen a ton of. That was the real meat and potatoes to take out of this game. Yes, the 7 goals was awesome. Marchment, 5 points. Yes, it's awesome. It's the way they moved the puck. They played as a team. They were clinical, played very instinctively, defensively, just shutting down plays. That is what to take out of the game. Yes, you beat up on a bad team, but things like that will travel. Things like that should translate against the better teams in the NHL. You just haven't got to that point yet. And hopefully it does. Hopefully it does quickly. But a huge night for the Stars nonetheless. A bounce back win, 7-1 over the Pens. A brilliant night for the Stars as they come back home to take on the Bees on Thursday. That'll wrap up a Tuesday edition of Locked On Stars. Appreciate the love and support as always. You guys are phenomenal. Please hit the like button, drop a comment as well. Hit the subscribe. We're almost at 3,500 subscribers. Let's get there before the end of the month. That's the goal. Let's get there before the end of November. And just one more little thing. Apologize for the weird upload schedule. It has been a few weeks is all I'm going to say on the road. And I still am going to be on the road for about another week. And then I kind of get back home and Thanksgiving, things will get a bit more steady. So I apologize. And I appreciate you that tune in every single day on Locked On Stars. It means a lot. Blessed to be able to do this. And don't worry. I do put a lot of time and effort and thought into what I'm doing. And sometimes I hate when I have to upload late or I have to record in not the best circumstances, but just sort of the things we're going to rock and roll with. The great thing is I know a lot of you don't care. You just love to listen to Stars hockey, and that's why you're the best. So have a great rest of your day, Stars fans, and we'll see you tomorrow. So long.